During the Second World War, bombers were used extensively by both sides. You had regular bombers like the Junkers 88 and the Bristol Blenheim carrying out raids against enemy targets throughout the war. However, the war called for a new type of bomber, the strategic bomber. These were long-range aircraft which were designed to fly long distances, as the name suggests, and obliterate enemy targets with heavy bomb loads. One of the most infamous examples of a strategic bomber is the B-29 Superfortress, which was responsible for dropping the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. However, you may not know that Germany had a similar plane that was designed to hit New York City. I'm talking about the Messerschmitt 264, the America bomber. The Messerschmitt 264 America bomber, badass name by the way, was a transoceanic strategic bomber designed and built by Germany in 1942. The company who made it, Messerschmitt, is more famous for building the infamous Bf-109 series of fighter interceptors. The 264 was one of the Führer's proposed Wunderwaffe, so you can probably guess how well it worked. The goal of this bomber was simple: bomb New York City from airfields in France. Did it ever achieve this? No. But let's be real, this is still a very interesting aircraft to look at. So let's go over the lore and basic details of this heavy bomber. By 1942, Germany was still doing relatively well in the war-waging department. However, their allies, Imperial Japan, had made the slightly regrettable decision to bomb Pearl Harbor on December the 7th, 1941. Now, this in and of itself wasn't the biggest of worries, as Japan would score some absolutely insane victories against the US until the Battle of Midway, but it was still slightly worrying. But this video isn't about Japan, it's about Germany, so what did Germany decide to do? They declared war on the United States on the 11th of December, 1941. Hitler really shot himself in the foot with this one. So now Germany had to fight the Americans. Enter Wolfgang Degel, Paul Conrad, and Waldemar Voigt. Apologies for the terrible pronunciation. These three came up with an idea. Good day, gentlemen. As you can see, we are now at war with the United States. But we have a plan to knock them out early. Let's build a 4-engine strategic aircraft that will bomb New York City and overall be a complete waste of resources. The Führer? Oh, he loved this idea. So, the schematics for the 264 were conjured up. It would have 4 BMW 801D 14-cylinder air-cooled radial piston engines and would be armed with 4 13mm MG131 machine guns and 2 20mm MG 151-20 cannons. So, how far did they get? They managed to build a whopping 3 prototypes. Wow. Now, these aircraft never actually saw combat, so I've decided to do something a little different. So, how well did these aircraft perform during flight testing? Well, not great. The first prototype was flown on the 23rd of December 1942. The trials revealed a lot of minor flaws in the vehicle. It also revealed that the handling wasn't very good. Though that is to be expected. It is a strategic bomber after all. The bomber wasn't even loaded with weapons and bombs, and it suffered from even more problems. The climbing performance was god-awful, there was a severe loss of manoeuvrability, and the aircraft stability wasn't much better. 2 more prototypes were produced, and neither did anything iconic or good. But what is extremely ironic is that all 3 of these aircraft were destroyed in bombing raids. Yep, destroyed by enemy bombers as bombers themselves. The second prototype was the first one to be destroyed, as it was destroyed in a bombing attack at its airfield. The first was severely damaged
in a second attack, and the third was destroyed in that second attack. Eventually, the Kriegsmarine dropped interest in the America bomber, as you'd expect. However, Messerschmitt went on to build the fairly successful Me-262 jet fighter. Funnily enough, though, a 6-engined version of the 264 was proposed, but nothing really came of that idea. The 264 was truly a waste of time and resources. However, that doesn't mean it didn't have potential. What if the 264 was actually used to bomb New York City?
Let's say, hypothetically...
So, let's say in this hypothetical situation, the Kriegsmarine decide to use the 264 in a raid against NYC. Would it work? No. See, around the same time, the Battle of the Atlantic was being fought. This, to put it simply, was Allied convoys and aircraft against German U-boats in their dreaded Wolfpack squadrons. Now, if the Allied convoys saw the 264 flying overhead, they may be confused at first. Eventually, though, they would just see the German markings and, well, shoot it down.
I am dead.
Talk about anticlimactic. So, overall, the Messerschmitt 264 is an enigma. It was born out of a badass concept, yet it flopped so hard that the people who were originally invested in it, the Kriegsmarine, dropped interest after it was tested. This was an unwise use of time and resources, and it's no wonder that Germany's strategic bomber never entered service. Also, as I mentioned earlier, all of them were attacking air raid, so they wouldn't even be able to be used in the first place. The end.